is and should be a touchdown. Here we go. Bryson Barnes has got his back behind him. It is Jaquindon Jackson. Here's the snap. Bryson Barnes looking deep. He's got a man. It's caught! He's gone! Touchdown early! And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to College Football Wraparound. I'm Cooper Naylor. So glad that you could join us here today. We have a lot to dive into today, and it really starts out with this, and that is that here on, at least on the YouTube side of things, one of the goals that we have set at the beginning of the year was to get to 100 subscribers. Folks, I believe, if I am correct with my numbers, we are at 92 subscribers on YouTube. So if you have not subscribed yet, please do so, because we are trying to get to 100 subscribers. We plan to do a special video for that to celebrate the 100 subscriber threshold, which, I mean, for my channel, it would be big because we're sitting right now at 92. So hit the subscribe button if you haven't already on the YouTube side of things. But, of course, like you saw on the thumbnail, we got a lot to talk about. Bill Belichick officially becomes the head coach of North Carolina. Rich Rodriguez, he's returning to West Virginia. Scott Frost returns to UCF. We're going to something I didn't put in any of it, like in the description, title, or thumbnail. We're going to preview Army and Navy, which is going to be played today at 2 o'clock. And then we've got to talk about some breaking news to begin the show. So let's start with that breaking news. Oh, we got bowl games to pick at the end of the show. So let's start off with our breaking news today, and that is, coming in this morning, former Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold is going to transfer to Auburn. Now, why Auburn? Well, first off, I think it's a little bit of something in the line of, if you think about it, I think Peyton Thorne, he has no eligibility left, so he's transferring out, or not transferring, but I think he has to go to the NFL. And then, really, the quarterback position right now at Auburn is kind of a toss-up. What are they going to do at quarterback? So they've gone out, and they got Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. This is a guy who I believe was a 5-star recruit going to Oklahoma. And I would say this: it was not his best season this year, not by any stretch of the means. Like, this was not a great season for Jackson Arnold there at Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma finished the year, I believe, 6-6. The reason why they got into a bowl game was because they found a way to beat Alabama at home by 21 points, which that was the highlight of his stay at Oklahoma. Was the way he played against Alabama in that game, I believe, is the highlight of that journey he had there in Oklahoma. So you got Oklahoma sitting there. Now they got to try to figure out who's their quarterback. And I will say this. This is interesting, too, just to sit here and see this, that Jackson Arnold is at Oklahoma just because, or not Oklahoma, but Auburn, because personally speaking, I thought he was going to go to Mississippi State and go play for the offensive coordinator who got him to Oklahoma, which is Jeff Lebby. Now, Auburn, I feel like there is a lot of upside, because you think about it from Auburn's side. You got a couple of really good receivers, especially Cam Coleman right there, who's young and has a lot of potential. So if you're Jackson Arnold, you have this ability. You've got some receivers that you can throw the ball to. Auburn normally normally has a decent running back to complement the quarterback and those receivers. So Jackson Arnold, I think, has made a really great choice going to Auburn. Auburn, like I said, and I think the big thing Auburn's been missing is a formidable quarterback that can actually, play mistake-free football and make some plays down the field that Peyton Thorne wasn't going to give you. Peyton Thorne, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he was a decent quarterback for Auburn, but I think they've needed a guy who could be more than just sit in the pocket, pass the ball, make a couple plays with his legs. I mean, you need a guy who can really control the game. And I think Jackson Arnold does a great job of that. And Hugh Freeze, I'll say this, I think he's a great coach. He will help Jackson Arnold play to the top of his potential. I'm just being fully honest with you. I think Hugh Freeze is a great coach. So Jackson Arnold, I think, has made a great decision going to Auburn. And so we'll see what happens down there on the plains next season. It should be very interesting, to say the least. So now let's dive into some of the topics that we knew we were going to talk about today. That is, let's start off by talking about Bill Belichick, 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach, will now be coaching in college for the first time in his career. He is going to North Carolina. So if you remember, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about this because I talked about this the other day. Literally, I recorded the video in the morning, and then later that night, Belichick, it was announced he would be hired as the head coach at North Carolina. But I do want to get into the details of his contract. Now, I believe that it is a 3 years, like 3 years on his contract is guaranteed. Like, he will get paid for 3 years, $10 million a year. So I believe what it is that if North Carolina believes that they're not on the right direction through those first 3 years, then the next 2 years are not guaranteed for Belichick, and North Carolina can be like, well, hit the road if we think that you didn't do a good job in the first 3 years. I think from North Carolina's standpoint, I think it's a smart move. Belichick, I think this is a move to go to North Carolina saying that, one, I still want to coach. I want to coach football, but he even said this. He was disgusted, and he was disgusted with the NFL, with the way it's going. And he really, if you go back and look at some of the stuff he's done throughout this season, he's gone on multiple talk shows, break down the coverages and see where coaches failed, where he probably would not have failed in the NFL. So Belichick, he was tired of the NFL, and so he's made his way to college to coach. And so do I think this is going to end well? I think it could potentially be a really great thing for North Carolina, getting a guy like Belichick who's gone to multiple Super Bowls. He's won a bunch of times. And, I mean, yes, there's that argument he didn't really do anything after he left. I mean, like, after Tom Brady left there in New England. But also, they didn't give him a whole lot of time to build the team back. I mean, you just lost the center, like, as far as the player standpoint, you lost the center of your team. So you can't really, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, Belichick's terrible without Brady, because I feel like it wasn't a whole lot of time given to really see, can he be a good coach on his own? Now we'll see at North Carolina. I think it's a great move. So congratulations to Belichick. He's got a new job, and this time in college for the first time. All right, Rich Rodriguez. He is returning to West Virginia. Now, I believe his contract, if I'm not mistaken, is like 5 years. I believe that it is, I think first year he gets paid like $3.5 million, and then the rest of the years will be like $3.75 million. I think it is low, but I believe by the way that I read that depending on how, like, the results of how good West Virginia does, there's a potential he could get paid more with, like, say, possibly have a really good season of 10-2 and you make the college football playoff, then he would probably get a bonus. I think that's what the way it's set up. If you're Rich Rod, I think that he is just appreciative to have this opportunity to go back to West Virginia. Plus, I believe he said he's got unfinished business there in Morgantown, so it's a great move for him. And go look at how Jacksonville State has played the last couple of years with Rich Rod as their head coach. Rich Rod has turned that program into a powerhouse in the Conference USA, and it's very impressive to see what he's done there at Jacksonville State because of this. This is only, I believe, their second year in the FBS. They were an FCS school, and they've moved to the FBS with little trouble. Like, it's just been a very easy road so far in the FBS. They got to the Conference USA. They made a bowl game last year. I mean, they're going to make a bowl game this year, and they won the Conference USA this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how Rich Rod does at West Virginia. But you cannot lie. This guy, he did a great job at Jacksonville State. Congratulations to him. He really made a mark at Jacksonville State. And so it's going to be interesting to see who Jacksonville State goes to get to replace Rich Rod. But great job by him. And so he has done a great job. And that's all. I mean, can't say enough. So, Rich Rod back at West Virginia. All right, Scott Frost. He's making his return to UCF after a failed tenure at Nebraska, which, don't get me wrong, I mean, Nebraska was his alma mater. It makes sense why he left UCF to go to Nebraska. I mean, it's his alma mater. Why not go? So he goes to his alma mater at Nebraska, and they never make a bowl game. They're close. Like, they play like every single game. It's very close, but they just cannot get over the hump. And so Scott Frost has made his way back to UCF after, I think, this past year he's taken a break, or like past couple of years he's taken a break as far as being a head coach. So UCF, I think this is a great move for him. I mean, UCF clearly loves him because I think his last game they beat Auburn in the Peach Bowl, and it was incredible. So they claim to have a national championship. I'm not going to give them a national championship if they never played for the national championship in this era, but that's besides the fact. Scott Frost, he really turned around UCF when he was there. I believe his first year, if I'm correct, they didn't win a game. Second year, they were like 6-6, and then third year they were like 13-0. Yeah. So Scott Frost, great coach, and I think that this tenure could potentially, I mean, I think it's got all the makings of it could be good. But you're playing, I mean, you're UCF, you're playing the Big 12 now. It's a little bit more difficult than playing in the American. So let's wait and see what happens. But I love this hire by UCF. I think this is a great move by them, and I think there's a lot of optimism if you're in Orlando, Florida. So, Central Florida fans, I think you got your coach back, and I think things are going to go really nicely for you. All right, now before we start talking about the bowl games, let's preview Army and Navy. It comes up 2:00 today on CBS, and this is the last regular season football game. And do want to mention coming up at 11 a.m., right after our show on ABC, you got the Celebration Bowl, plus on ESPN you got FCS playoffs going on. So that's some college football matchups. And then I believe FCS playoffs, there's a game at 2:00, there's a game at 2:30. So two FCS playoff games in competition with Army Navy, and then at 8 o'clock. This is all Central Time, but 8 o'clock is South Alabama and Western Michigan. And then of course 7 o'clock the Heisman Trophy ceremony begins. So a lot of interesting stuff going on within the college football world today. Army Navy. Let me get to this. This is going to be a very interesting game. You got, I think it's Horvath. This is a quarterback for Navy, and you got Bryson Daly, quarterback for Army. Both quarterbacks lead their teams in rushing this season. And so it's very interesting to see Army they're 11-1. They are American Athletic Conference champions. Navy 8-3. So this is a very interesting football game, to say the least. And so most people overwhelmingly, like, I think it's like at least on ESPN has like, I think 60% of like over 60% of people that visited ESPN are saying that Army's going to win the football game. Now, I will say, I think that this is a rivalry game, but it's not like your typical like rivalry in the sense of we hate each other. But I mean, I think it's more of 364 days of the year we are one, but then that one day it's either go Army beat Navy or go Navy beat Army. Like, that's the way it is. And so I think this is going to be a very interesting football game. A note that I've seen that I think it's the last 7 years or so that every single time the losing team has not gotten to 17 points. So if that trend continues, first team to 17 points this football game, where do I think this game is going to be won? And I think it is clearly, and I think this just goes without saying, that the line of scrimmage is where this football game will be won. It's going to depend on which quarterback can get free and run for more yards today. And so I'm going to say this. I think personally, this is always a close game. I don't think there's a way this isn't a close football game. I think that really, at the end of the day, I think Army's had a great season. But I got this feeling like Army is going to be tired after playing in their conference championship game. I'm going to pick Navy to win this game because I think Navy, coming off of a bye week, I think they'll be rested up. They'll be ready to go. So give me Navy to win this football game. All right, folks. Now is the time where I am going to pick the remaining 12 more bowl games. So here is, of course, as you can see, just like I did the other day, we are on the ESPN Capital One Bowl Mania. So this is where I'm going to be picking the bowl game. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in full screen for ESPN. All right. So we begin with the Rate Bowl between Rutgers and Kansas State. And this is an interesting matchup. Rutgers, I think they start out their season really good, but I think they had a lot of injuries, and it really set them back. Kansas State, I think, similar. Kansas State had a chance to be really good this season. Kind of sad that it didn't work out this year. They're 8-4. So personally speaking, I think it's two teams that you're probably going to have a bunch of guys sitting out. Personally speaking, I'm with the 11% here. I think Rutgers finds a way to win this football game. I think Rutgers will come out really wanting to win. All right. The 68 Ventures Bowl. You got Arkansas State against Bowling Green. Both teams 7-5. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Butch Jones, Arkansas State head coach, I think they love him. If he may have gotten an extension, I'm not 100% sure on that. Either way, I'm going to be taking I'm going to take Arkansas State to win this game. You got Oklahoma and Navy. Oklahoma, most likely Michael Hawkins Jr. will be starting at quarterback. Going to be interesting to see where this game goes in a couple weeks. Navy, they would have less rest than Oklahoma. I just feel like Oklahoma has too much for Navy. Give me Oklahoma win this ball game. And then a sneaky good game in bowl season, Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt. Georgia Tech, they've got a good defense. It's going to be very interesting to see how that defense goes against a offense that really likes to run the football. So I think it's going to be close, but personally, I think Georgia Tech is too good. I'm going to go Georgia Tech over Vanderbilt. All right. Texas Tech and Arkansas. Really interesting matchup here. Arkansas, as you know, they started the season really good. Their biggest win probably is going to be Tennessee for the season. Very interesting stuff from Arkansas. Texas Tech, their biggest win was, I believe, against Iowa State on the road. So both teams have some some wins, ranked teams. Personally speaking, though, I feel like Arkansas is going to be way too much for Texas Tech. I just think Arkansas has I think it's Taylor Green, the quarterback. If he plays at the top of his game, they're going to be hard to beat. All right, DirecTV Holiday Bowl. You got Syracuse and Washington State. This is a game that I think is going to be really interesting. It's a quarterback battle between, I think it's Mateer, and then you got Kyle McCord for Syracuse. I feel like Syracuse gets this win because they're still gonna be on that high of beating Miami, but I feel like they're good enough that they'll win this ball game. All right, SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl, USC and Texas A&M. Very interesting matchup here. USC really just poor end of the season. Texas A&M similar here, but personally speaking, I just think Texas A&M is way too good for USC. Give me Texas A&M. Plus, also keep in mind this will be the second time USC's played in Las Vegas in that same stadium this season. So that's an interesting note for you. The Fenway Bowl, you got UConn against North Carolina. Of course, Mac Brown, I don't think will be coaching in this bowl game. He's gone. So, and then you got Jim Mora, head coach at UConn. UConn, it's been this is a great season for UConn. Jim Mora has done wonders for this team. Honestly, give me UConn in this game. I think they will play. I think they'll play for Coach Mora, and they'll try to get a bowl game win. All right, got 4 more games to choose from. Boston College and Nebraska. Nebraska, I believe it's their first bowl game since 2016. Matt Rhule has done incredible for this Nebraska team. And then Bill O'Brien, first year at Boston College, getting them to a bowl game. I think this is a great season for both of these teams. It's hard to have to pick just one of them. But personally, I think if Dylan Raiola plays really good, I think it'll be hard to beat him. Give me Nebraska. All right. We got 3 more to pick from. Louisiana and TCU. TCU 8-4 after having a poor 5. I think they were 5-7 last year. And you got Louisiana. I believe they just won their no. I think Marshall may have won their conference. I'm not completely sure on that. I can't remember. But interesting football game here. Give me TCU. I think TCU will play a really good football game. So I think TCU wins. All right, Iowa State and Miami. Miami, of course, was left out of the college football playoff, 10-2. And then you have Iowa State, who lost their conference championship game. Personally, I think it depends on who all plays. But I got a feeling Rocco Becht will have a really good game. Give me Iowa State in this football game. All right, we got one more, and that is Miami of Ohio against Colorado State. Again, this is a very interesting matchup here. Miami of Ohio played for their conference championship game. Colorado State did not. Give me Colorado State. I think rest is going to be a big thing here, and so I think Colorado State gets the win in this ball game. So that is where we will leave you on the bowl game picks. Of course, as you can see, East Carolina and NC State will be the next game we pick in bowl season. Most likely we'll be doing another live stream, maybe Wednesday night, sometime around there, to pick the remaining bowl games. If you remember, though, also that the Capital One Bowl Mania gives the chance to pick the playoff games. Personally speaking, though, I'm not going to be picking those on the Bowl Mania side because I already gave you my bracket on the ESPN Bracket Challenge. So I don't feel the need to have to go pick those games again. So that's just a little, just giving you a programming note for that. So, before I leave, if you're just joining me right here on YouTube, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We are at 92 subscribers. Our goal for the year, which we are almost at the end of the year. I mean, we got like 2 weeks left in the year. So please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We are trying our best to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're going to plan on doing something special for that 100 subscriber special. So, with that all being said, we are trying our best to get there. So, if you haven't already, please subscribe. So yeah, a lot of great football to be played today. And we'll see you again later for some more college football content. We'll see you later. Bye, everybody.